Hey guys, if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back again. My daughter and I appreciate you guys so very much. You have no idea. If this is your first time on our channel, thank you so much for clicking on the video. Subscribe and join the tribe. I mean, why not? Premium content every Friday, 2 p.m. West African time. Trust me, you'll be glad you subscribed. And when you're done subscribing, hit the notification bell so that you're notified every single time we post. Okay? Let's jump right in. So today I'd like to touch on a frequently asked question. This particular question keeps on coming up, and like somebody rightly pointed out to me, yes, there might be people out there who have addressed this question previously, but when you're thinking of starting locs, particularly tiny locs, there's so much information out there, right? And you really don't know who to trust. Okay, so I'm pretty much doing this video. Those of my clients or people who have come to know me and trust me because of the relationship we've developed over the years, who are really looking to settle that issue or question in their minds once and for all. If I'm going to do tiny locs, what's the difference between Sisterlocks, Microlocs, and Interlocks? Okay, because this seems, for most people, these three terms seem to be the source of confusion. So I think let me start by saying that interlocking is a locking technique or a locking method. It's one way of installing locks in your hair. So just like you can install tiny locks by, doing braids, by doing micro twists, you can also start your locks by using the interlocking method. Now, regardless of the size of your interlocks, regardless of the size of your locks, whether your locks are nano small, micros, medium sized, large size, or traditional lock size, I think that's how we like to refer to it. If you started your locks with interlocking from root to tip, the resultant lock is referred to as an interlock, regardless of the size. Okay? Interlocking is the technique, and the resultant lock is an interlock, whether it is large, medium, small, nano, micro, regardless of the size. If you did it with interlocking, the resultant lock is called an interlock. All right? Now, if you choose to go the Sisterlocks route, Sisterlocks is a system, an entire hair system on its own, that was created and trademarked by its originator. I believe her name is Dr. Joanne Cornwell, and I hope I said her name right. But the Sisterlocks system has been in operation or in existence for over 20 years now. I believe they celebrated their 20th year of existence a few years back. Okay, so it is, when we call it a system, it's called a system because there's a set of rules, or to put it better, a checklist that you or your locks must satisfy in order to be able to claim that you have Sisterlocks. All right? And I need you to pay careful attention, because you may find, and this is what throws a lot of people off, that in terms of looking at the hair, depending on who does this hair, you might not be able to just look at a person's hair and tell if it is Sisterlocks and Microlocs. The honest truth of the matter is that the major difference, or let's say the important differences between well done Microlocs and well done Sisterlocks, is not so much in the physical look or the physical appearance of the hair, but is more, the difference is more in terms of technicalities. Okay? What you feel about it or what you think about it. And I say this in the nicest possible way. What you think about it or how you feel about it is completely irrelevant. We are talking legal and technical terms. Okay? So yes, while it is entirely possible that even Dr. Joanne Conwell herself could see a head of well-done Microlocs and a head of well-done Sisterlocks and not be able to tell the difference just by looking, okay, if you do not satisfy the following 7 criteria, you cannot say that you have Sisterlocks. I mean, I guess this would apply to many African countries, and I think that this is the reason why people take liberties with the use of the name. But that name, Sisterlocks, is patented, is trademarked, and I guess if you've been calling your locks Sisterlocks because you didn't know, by the end of this video, I'm hoping that now that you know, you will do better and desist from using the name loosely as you used to, or from calling your locks Sisterlocks if you find, based on this on this checklist I'm about to share with you, that your locks aren't Sisterlocks. Okay, I don't have Sisterlocks. I'm a loctician, right? But I do not have Sisterlocks. And the reason why it may seem, the reason why it's important, even though it may seem, oh, that these are just legalities and technicalities, is that intellectual property, right, which is what you go to get trademarked, where you trademark this sort of thing, intellectual property is still property. Okay? And I know that in Nigeria, some people still find it very difficult to understand this very simple fact. Intellectual property is still property. Okay? So if at the end of watching this video you realize that you do not have Sisterlocks, please, for the sake of your conscience, because I know she cannot, Dr. Joanne Conwell is not going to come to Africa to come and sue you. But now that you know better, please do better. Okay? All right. Moving on. The very first thing for you to be able to claim or to say that you have Sisterlocks, again, nobody's coming to your house to beat you. Okay? So if at the end of this video you're like, oh, that's a load of crap, I'm going to call my hair whatever I want to call it, feel free to. But at least you won't be saying that you didn't know. All right? So I think the purpose of this video really is not to keep you from calling your hair whatever you want to call it, but so that you cannot claim anymore that you don't know. All right? First and foremost, for you to be able to claim that you have Sisterlocks, first thing on that checklist, the person who installed your locks must be what is referred to as a certified Sisterlock consultant or trainee. And the major difference between a consultant and a trainee, besides the varying degree of experience, is that the Sisterlocks consultant has been examined and approved by the Sisterlocks company or leadership, and has been certified by the company to be able to install Sisterlocks according to the Sisterlocks specifications. All right. The trainee, on the other hand, the trainee may be at whatever stage of her training she may be at, whether she's just starting out, whether she's yet to submit the required 3 completed heads, finished, works of Sisterlocks, or whether she's just waiting on her certificate to be delivered. The trainee does not yet have that approval or certification from the Sisterlocks organization. So in other words, there is a risk of varying degrees that you run by deciding to have your hair installed by a trainee. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right. The second thing is for you to be able to claim that you have Sisterlocks. Not only do you have to have them installed by a Sisterlocks consultant, that Sisterlocks consultant at the time she installed your locks must be registered and listed on the sisterlocks.com website. In other words, if your consultant has been delisted, she used to be a consultant, but for whatever reason, she's no more listed and recognized by sisterlocks.com, she may still have all her skills and experience. If she's no more listed, technically, you cannot claim to have Sisterlocks. Again, like I said, you may have your feelings and opinions about this, and you might think it's a technicality or just legal jargon, but it is what it is. Somebody has taken time to come up with this system, has patented the system. It is trademarked. Okay? So your feelings about it are really not what's important. All right? Keep that in mind. And consultants, so while I'm on the topic, let me just say that consultants do get delisted because consultants are required to keep up with their dues. So if for any reason you default, you're not able to keep up with your dues or meet other requirements of the Sisterlocks company or organization, then yes, people have been known to be delisted. Okay, just FYI. The third thing is that the Sisterlocks consultant or trainee who installs your locks must do it with the aid of the Sisterlocks tool. Now, for those of you who know, as at last I checked, that tool is not available on Amazon. It's not available in any marketplace, online marketplace that is open to the public. And what that means essentially is that the only people who are, will I say, legally or formally recognized to be able to own a Sisterlocks tool are Sisterlocks consultants. So either Sisterlocks consultants or people who have taken some form of training, because I know that Sisterlocks.com does offer self-retightening trainings. So you must have had some form of certification or the other from Sisterlocks.com to be given that tool. Okay, it's not something that you can buy on the open market. I'm not going to dwell on it. All right, but just so you know, again, it might seem to you like a technicality, but it is what it is. All right. The fourth thing is that your Sisterlocks must be installed in a very specific grid pattern. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Sisterlocks grid pattern, I'm going to insert a picture or clip of it somewhere on the screen. All right. If your locks are installed in any other grid pattern besides this one, no matter how similar it may look, and I have seen some microlocticians come up with like really beautiful, very similar grids that are not quite the Sisterlocks grid. If your locks are not installed in that grid, even if it was a Sisterloctician who did it for you, because some people who are certified Sisterlocks consultants also offer microlocks that are just as small, but a Sisterlocks consultant would never offer you microlocks with the Sisterlocks grid. It might be similar, but it will not be the exact same thing. Okay? Again, this might seem like a minor technicality to you, but in terms of the legal implications, it's not. Trust and believe. If you were discussing this in a court of law, you would then begin to understand why these points, though minor, they may seem minor to you, but they are not. Okay? So you have to have that grid pattern to be able to claim that you have Sisterlocks. All right. The fifth thing is that for you to claim that you have Sisterlocks, you should have, there are three, let me call them appointments, or 3 visits with the loctician who installs your locks, whether a full consultant or a trainee. 3 compulsory visits must occur. The very first one is what is called the consultation visit. Now, at the consultation visit, you have a discussion with your consultant about your needs, your wants. She'll do a hair assessment, and she must, at the consultation visit, install at least 3, some people do 4, right, different sizes of locks. Because here's the thing, a lot of people are surprised to hear this, but all Sisterlocks are not the same size. Okay, so sizes vary from individual to individual, depending on the thickness of your hair, the texture of your hair, the density, and all of that. But even on the same head, the sizes of the locks are different from front to back. A lot of people, I've realized a lot of people are very surprised by this, which I wonder why. I guess it just seemed common sense to me, because your head is not the same width from front to back, right? Like this portion right above that connects one ear to the other is for most people is the widest part of your head. So why would your locks be exactly the same size from front to back? Okay. Anyway, at your consultation visit, your Sisterlocks consultant would install at least 3 different sizes of locks. Depending. Now, if you were going to get Microlocs, a lot of Sisterlocks consultants, just because of their Sisterlocks training, would probably install 1 interlock, 1 twist, and 1 braid lock. But if you had made up your mind you wanted Sisterlocks, it was agreed you were going for Sisterlocks, what she would do is to install 3 different sizes of locks somewhere close to the back of your ear. So right underneath the line that, connects one ear to the other one at the back, just above the nape of your neck, she would install what they call test locks, okay? And then she would give you a return appointment, usually at least 3 to 4 weeks after the consultation visit. And the purpose of those test locks is to see how they fare, okay? And just see how each of those locks behaves over time. And then when you come back for your actual installation appointment, she would then assess each of the locks that she put into your hair at that time to see which one did best, okay, in terms of did they unravel, did they swell, she'll just assess it to see, based on how she knows a lock is supposed to progress, which one of them did best. And then she will use that specific technique or that specific size to install the rest of your locks. Keep in mind, again, for those in the back who may not have heard me the first time, your Sisterlocks are not supposed to be a perfectly uniform size from front to back. No. A good, well-installed head of Sisterlocks should have at least 3 different sizes of locks on the same head. Okay? The 7th thing, right? Sorry, the 6th thing, I think I'm on number 6, is that there should be a 3rd appointment. So I've talked about two appointments now. The very first one is the consultation visit. The second one is the installation, okay? And the 3rd is the follow-up or maintenance visit. Typically, from what Sisterlocks advises is that your first maintenance visit, where you do what is called a retightening or a retie for short, should be 4 weeks after the date of installation. Okay. Now, Sisterlocks.com trains their consultants and trainees to offer these 3 visits as one package. In other words, whatever it is that you are charged, that charge is inclusive of the consultation visit, the main installation, as well as your first maintenance visit. If your consultant claims to be a Sisterlocks consultant or trainee and does things differently from this, FYI, she just breached her own rules. Well, she just breached the Sisterlocks rules. Be it known unto you. Okay? Because I've heard all sorts in these YouTube streets. I've heard of consultants who charge differently for consultation. I've heard of consultants who tell you it's one package, and then when you come back for your maintenance, they want to charge you more. Now keep in mind, I'm not talking about Microlocs. If what you agreed with your consultant was Microlocs, regardless of if she's a Sisterlocks consultant, then she would charge. She's at liberty to charge you however she wants to charge you. All right? But if what she's giving you is Sisterlocks, then the charge for the first 3 appointments, the consultation, the main installation, and your first maintenance visit is supposed to be one package charge. Okay? So once you pay, you don't get charged again, or you shouldn't get charged again until your second maintenance appointment. All right? The 7th thing, in order for you to claim that you have Sisterlocks, and this isn't something you actually even need to ask for, like the consultants and the trainees are trained to just give this to you without your requesting it. But in the, life happens, people forget. In the event that your consultant forgets, feel free to be able to claim this, because this is also part of the Sisterlocks package. After your installation, when your installation is done, you should automatically get, if she doesn't give it to you right there, you should automatically get sent to you the Sisterlocks starter kit, which includes the shampoo, a pack of rubber bands, and then some literature about Sisterlocks and how to care for your Sisterlocks and all of that. That's not something you need to go buy, and that's not something you need to request. Ideally, like your Sisterlocks consultant knows, it's part of the package you pay for. Once she's done with your installation, she should automatically let you have that. Okay? If you have locks on your head, however tiny. Oh, sorry, one more thing I forgot to mention, which is actually point number 7. I have my points all mixed up, but whatever. The more important thing is I mentioned all of them. One more thing I forgot to mention is with regards to the number of locks. And I'm kind of hesitant to talk about this because this is so controversial. It's led to more internet fights or wars than I care to begin to talk about. But if you ask the OGs, the Sisterlocks consultants who have been rocking with Dr. Congo from the beginning, what they will tell you is that when it comes to lock counts and Sisterlocks, okay, the average, the active word here is average. The average lock count is 400. Okay? And the reason why that is important to keep in mind, it's not a fixed number, it's an average, is that if you satisfy every other thing on the checklist and you have slightly less than 400 locks, you still have Sisterlocks. In fact, some people have argued that you can even have less than 300 locks and have Sisterlocks. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And the reason why people argue that is because some people have very, very fine, very, very scanty, very, very sparse hair. And so there simply isn't enough hair to install 400 locks in. All right. So if you're able to get close to 300 because the person has very, very sparse hair, because you also want to keep in mind, Yes, you're trying to like keep with the checklist, with the Sister Locks checklist, but then you also don't want to make the lock so tiny because the person's hair is sparse. You don't want to make the lock so tiny that they then run the risk of breaking off. Okay, so for such people, understandably, they could have. I mean, I know somebody who has about 298 locks who met all the other criteria on the checklist. I'm not going to tell her she doesn't have Sister Locks. She paid Sister Locks money. Hello? You know? But for people who have average density to really full hair, most people who have Sister Locks fall between at least 350 and above. Okay? A well done head of Sister Locks would usually be, even if it's less than 400, it would usually be a number close to 400. But on average, I want to say that at least 80% of people who have Sister Locks usually have more than 400. Okay, I've heard of people who have as many as 1,000. It sounds like a lot of work to me, a lot of money and a lot of work, and many hours spent sitting. But it's beautiful. I mean, you can't argue with that. It is. I've seen gorgeous heads of hair with 700 locks and above. So I mean, if you don't mind sitting and if you can afford it, why not? Who is to tell you what you can or cannot do? But I've also seen some of the well-loved sister lock gurus with some of the largest followings here on YouTube have less than 400 locks. A lot of you might not know, especially if you've not been following them for a long time. So I tell people, don't get hung up on a number, okay? That is Sister Locks, all right? So let's talk about micro locks. The way I like to categorize this is, if you get any type of micro locks that was installed, let me say that again. If you get any type of tiny locks that are not Sister Locks, in my book, you have micro locks. Okay? So if you remember my definition of what interlocking or interlocks are, you probably realize by now that Sister Locks are a type of interlocks, okay? Because Sister Locks, the individual locks in the Sister Locks, in a head of Sister Locks, are installed using the interlocking method. So by that very definition, all Sister Locks are interlocks, but not all micro locks are interlocks. Reason being that you could literally install micro locks with any other method, so long as it is not Sisterlocks TM or the trademark Sisterlocks system. Okay, the advantage to going with micro locks, which includes interlocks not done by a sister loctician, interlocks that does not satisfy everything on the checklist I just told you about, which includes micro twists, which includes braid locks. Okay, the advantage is that you do not have to conform to a rigid set of rules, and because there is more flexibility with this one, you can then determine the kind of grid pattern you want. You can then determine, feel free to tell your loctician if you do not want up to 400 locks, or if you don't want an average of 400. So you can go as low or as high as you can, but keep in mind that if you go below 200, technically you cannot quite say you have tiny locks anymore. Okay, so those, anything below 200 technically would not be considered micro. Okay, it's not like there's maybe a union or organization or official board of directors that determines these things. But just looking visually, right, at somebody who has 200 or less, they don't look tiny. All right. So that's it in a nutshell. And I hope I haven't confused you anymore than you were when you started watching this video. If I have, my sincere apologies. If it's clearer for you now, whoop, whoop, I'm glad I cleared that up for you. Okay. So thank you very much once again for hanging with me once again. And until the next video, bye and stay blessed.